W. Edwards Deming once said, "A bad system will beat a good person every time." So what exactly did he mean by that? In this video, I'll be explaining why a team's performance is often more of a reflection on the system in which it operates rather than the abilities of those within the team, and that the greatest improvements come from focusing on the system itself. I'll also be covering exactly why my first big project failure was absolutely not my fault, really. It's important, 14 years on, that we set the record straight on that one. Not my fault. Hi there, I'm Karim, and welcome to Agile Bites, tackling the world of agility one bite at a time. A long time ago, when I was a project manager, yeah, I was one of those. I remember being hauled in front of 3 senior managers. I remember one in particular being particularly angry, almost shouting at me as his face turned an increasingly bright shade of magenta. I'll always remember his words. He said this: "How can you slip by 3 months overnight? You're supposed to be accountable for delivery." I don't recall exactly how I responded, but I suspect it was not particularly elegant. I do recall feeling a deep sense of injustice for being blamed for following what was essentially a flawed process. A process which, by the way, was designed and reinforced by those who now held me accountable for its failure. The 3-month slippage was caused by the performance of the software we had built. It responded slower than my 4-year-old daughter when I asked her to pick up her toys, and that really takes some doing, believe me. We discovered this just weeks before our scheduled go-live date, which left us almost no time to resolve the issues. We had sought to mitigate that risk earlier, but unfortunately we were not granted a test environment on which we could check the performance until we had the functional testing signed off, which of course we couldn't start until we had the programming signed off. It was a Stagegate waterfall process, and we were bound by that. Many managers, and indeed teams, find themselves in this unenviable position, shouldering all the accountability but with very little control over what really matters: the design of the overall value delivery system. You just cannot expect an oil tanker to be as nimble as a flotilla of speedboats. It will never happen. Blaming those on board for the inability to turn quickly makes no sense at all. I believe to do so is deeply unfair and unjust. The question I'm often asked is, how can we improve the performance of our teams? The most effective leaders that I encounter ask a completely different question. They ask, how can we improve the system to unlock the potential of our teams? Instead of blaming people for not collaborating more, look to create cross-functional teams by breaking down silos like development, analysis, and testing, silos which keep people separated. Instead of blaming people for not going quickly enough, look to remove the handoffs, the sign-offs, and the resulting queues which slow everything down. Instead of blaming people for not satisfying customer needs, look to support close collaboration with the customer and the ability to respond quickly to their feedback. People are doing their best in systems which are just not set up for success. I look back at that painful episode of my career and I ask myself this: what could I have done differently to prevent that failure? Quite frankly, I'm not sure there's anything we could have done within the constraints placed upon us. We needed to work in a completely different way. We needed fast feedback. We needed to validate our assumptions. We simply did not have the ability to do those things. So the risk was delayed until the end, and when it blew up, we had no time to resolve it. It's only when we stop blaming the individuals and start focusing on improving the system as a whole that we see the real improvements. Everyone has a part to play here. There are some things that are within the influence of the team, and they can fix those. But there are some things that must be pushed to leadership to fix. They are the ones that have overall control of the system often, so they are the ones that have to resolve the issues. Holding people accountable for the results of a system that they do not control is as unfair as it is ineffective. As Mr. Deming said, people cannot perform better than the system allows. It's time to start creating systems which work for you, not against you. It's time to stop blaming the people and start fixing the system. Got any more examples? Tell us about them in the comments section. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to hit that like button and to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time on Agile Bytes. Until then, stay curious.